The concrete was cold beneath my back when the screaming woke me up. Fire lit up the night sky like dawn coming too early, and through the smoke, I could see Obinna Okwu running around his burning business center like a man who'd lost his mind. "Everything's gone!" he kept shouting at his security team. 20 years of work! Gone! I'm Chioma, and 3 months ago, I had a corner office in that same building. Now, I was sleeping in the abandoned shell next door, 7 months pregnant and counting coins for my next meal. Funny how fast your world can flip, right? The heat from the fire made my skin tight. I grabbed my laptop bag, the only thing I owned worth protecting, and stumbled toward the chaos. That's when I heard Obinna screaming about backup systems. His IT director, Ifeoma, was pacing in circles, her expensive weave catching ash from the sky. "Sir, the programmers must have sabotaged the servers," Ifeoma was saying, her voice cutting through the noise. "This wasn't an accident." I knew that was bullshit. I'd built half those systems before they fired me for stealing money I'd never seen. But watching Obinna's face crumble as firefighters confirmed his worst fears. All data destroyed, no recent backups. Something twisted in my chest. Not pity, recognition. See, when you're at the bottom, you notice things others miss. Like how Ifeoma's eyes weren't filled with panic. They were calculating, cold. While Obinna fell apart, she was checking her phone, texting someone. The pregnant woman nobody wanted to hear from. I walked closer, my bare feet finding broken glass. "Mr. Okwu," I called out. He turned, and his face went from grief to disgust in half a second. "What do you want?" His security moved toward me like I was carrying a weapon instead of a baby. "I can help." The words came out steadier than I felt. "Your backup system? I know what went wrong." Ifeoma stepped between us. "Sir, don't listen to her. She's the one who nearly bankrupted us with that accounting fraud. That fraud I never committed. The money that disappeared right after I questioned some strange transfers in Ifeoma's department. But watching Obinna's empire burning, watching him clutch his chest like his heart might stop, I saw my chance. "Give me 1 hour with your servers," I said. "If I can't recover your data, you lose nothing. If I can..." I looked at the flames eating everything he'd built. "What's 1 hour worth to you right now?" "She's a criminal," Ifeoma hissed. But Obinna was staring at me with desperate eyes. 48 hours, the fire chief had told him. That's how long his bank could survive without the transaction records. 2 days before, everything collapsed. "Security, remove her," he finally said. As they dragged me away, I saw Ifeoma smile for the first time all night. And something clicked in my programmer's brain. The same sick feeling I'd had 3 months ago when those transfer records first crossed my desk. This wasn't random. This fire, my firing, the missing backups, it was all connected. And Ifeoma's smile told me everything I needed to know. But proving it, that was going to be the hardest code I'd ever had to crack. The abandoned internet cafe on Bode Thomas Street became my war room. Chukwu, the owner, was closing up when I stumbled in at 2 a.m., still smelling like smoke and desperation. "Chioma, girl, what happened to you?" He looked at my ash-covered clothes, my swollen belly, the laptop clutched against my chest like armor. "I need your fastest computer," I said, "and I need it until morning." Chukwu had known me since my university days, back when I was debugging code for extra money. He saw something in my face that made him unlock the door wider instead of asking questions. 20 minutes, he said. "Then you tell me what's really going on." I plugged into his gaming rig and started hunting. Obinna's company systems were still partially accessible through cached DNS records. Not enough to recover data, but enough to trace the digital fingerprints left behind. What I found made my blood run cold. The backup failures weren't random. Someone had been systematically disabling redundancies for weeks. Tiny code changes, each one insignificant alone. But together, they created the perfect digital storm. And every change was logged under service accounts that trace back to one department. Ifeoma's department. "Jesus Christ," I whispered, scrolling through access logs. She hadn't just sabotaged the backups. She'd been siphoning data. Customer records, transaction histories, proprietary algorithms. Everything that made Obinna's fintech empire valuable. "Find what you're looking for?" Chukwu set a plate of jollof rice beside my keyboard. The smell made my stomach growl so loud it hurt. "Maybe," I showed him the screen. Look at these file transfers, small batches, always during system maintenance windows. Someone's been preparing for this fire for months. Chukwu whistled low. Industrial espionage? Worse, corporate murder. I pulled up cryptocurrency wallet addresses linked to the transfers. She's not just stealing data. She's positioning herself to buy Obina's assets when he goes bankrupt. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stop digging or your baby won't make it to delivery. We know where you sleep. My hands shook as I read it again. The rice turned to ash in my mouth. Chioma? Chukwu saw my face. What is it? I showed him the message. He stood up fast, knocking over his chair. We're calling the police. With what evidence? A pregnant homeless woman accusing a powerful IT executive? I saved my work to an encrypted drive. They threatened my baby, Chukwu. That means I'm close to something big. Another message arrived. This one had a photo attached. Me walking into the cafe an hour ago. Someone had been watching. 24 hours. Disappear or we make you disappear. But they'd made a mistake. The photo's metadata was still intact, and the camera signature matched a model commonly used by private security firms. Professional surveillance gear. Whoever sent this has serious money, I told Chukwu. The kind of money that can make problems disappear permanently. My baby kicked hard, like she could sense the danger. Or maybe she was telling me to fight. I need to get into Obina's building, I said. Tonight, before they clean up the evidence. You're 7 months pregnant and homeless. How exactly? I know someone who can help. I thought about Fatima, the night cleaner who'd always smiled at me in the elevators. The one who'd looked genuinely sad when security escorted me out with my box of personal items. This is insane, Chukwu said. But he was already locking down his computers, preparing to close early. Probably. But you know what's more insane? I stood up, my back aching, my feet swollen, my whole body screaming that I should run. Letting them win, letting them destroy a man's life just because they can. Outside, Lagos traffic hummed with its usual chaos. Somewhere in that sound was the noise of a city that had forgotten people like me existed. But inside that building, hidden in hard drives and server logs, was proof that could change everything. The question wasn't whether I could expose Ifeoma's scheme. The question was whether I'd live long enough to try. And my daughter's first kicks were telling me she wanted to find out. Fatima's phone rang 6 times before she picked up. Her voice was thick with sleep and worry. Chioma, it's 3 a.m, what? I need to get into the building tonight, before they wipe everything clean. Silence stretched between us. Then, child, are you trying to get us both killed? They already want me dead. I told her about the threats, the evidence I'd found, Ifeoma's scheme to destroy Obina from the inside. She's been stealing from the company for months, Fatima, setting it up to fail so she could buy the pieces. And what does that have to do with you? You don't even work there anymore. Fair question. What did I owe a man who'd fired me based on lies? Who'd let his security drag me away while his company burned? Because I'm tired of being invisible, I said. Tired of people like Ifeoma stepping on people like us to get what they want. Another long pause. Then Fatima sighed, the sound of a woman who'd made too many hard choices in her life. Building's still chaos from the fire. Security's focused on the damaged floors. I can get you to the server room, but after that, you're on your own. That's all I need. No, child. What you need is your head examined, but I'll help you anyway. We met at the service entrance an hour later. Fatima looked older in the fluorescent lights, her cleaning uniform wrinkled from being pulled out of the laundry basket. Stay close, move quiet, and if we get caught, you don't know me, she said, swiping her access card. The building felt different at night. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows, and the smell of smoke still hung in the air despite industrial fans running on every floor. Our footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. Ifeoma fired my nephew last month, Fatima said, as we climbed the service stairs. Said he was stealing office supplies. Boy never took so much as a pencil that wasn't his. She's cleaning house, getting rid of anyone who might ask questions. Like you, like me. The server room was on the 7th floor, miraculously untouched by fire damage. Fatima's keycard got us through the outer door, but the inner sanctum required biometric access. This is where my help ends, she whispered. But I wasn't worried about the scanner. 3 months ago, when I'd built these systems, I'd left myself a back door. Every programmer does it. A way in when the primary access fails. I never thought I'd need it like this. I pressed my thumb to the scanner, then immediately entered a 16-digit override code before it could reject me. The system paused, confused, then beeped green. How did you... Trade secret. I slipped inside. Give me 20 minutes. The servers hummed with quiet power, their blinking lights like electronic heartbeats. I found the main data recovery terminal and plugged in my drive. This was it, my chance to prove that Ifeoma had orchestrated everything. But when I accessed the backup logs, my heart stopped. They were gone, not corrupted, not damaged, completely deleted. Every trace of Ifeoma's manipulation, every record of the illegal transfers, every piece of evidence that could have saved Obina's company. She'd been here first. No, no, no. I frantically searched through system caches, temporary files, anything that might have survived. Nothing. Then I heard voices in the corridor, security making rounds. I had maybe 2 minutes before they reached this floor. 2 minutes to find something, anything, that could... Wait. The deletion logs were intact, and they showed something impossible. The files had been erased remotely 40 minutes ago. But according to the access records, no one had been in the building, which meant Ifeoma was running her operation from outside, from a location with administrative access to the company's core systems. I pulled up the network traffic logs and found what I was looking for. An encrypted tunnel connecting to an IP address in Victoria Island, the same exclusive neighborhood where Ifeoma lived. She was operating from her home computer. The voices were getting closer. I copied the network logs to my drive and started covering my tracks. But as I worked, one more detail caught my eye. The encrypted tunnel wasn't just for data theft. It was bi-directional. Ifeoma wasn't just stealing information, she was actively controlling Obina's systems. Right now. Tonight. Which meant whatever she was planning, it wasn't over. I slipped out just as security rounded the corner, my heart hammering against my ribs. Fatima was waiting by the stairs, her face pale with worry. Find what you needed? More than I wanted to. I showed her the copied logs. She's not done destroying him. This was just the beginning. We made it to the service exit without being seen, but as I stepped into the Lagos night, my phone buzzed again. Congratulations, you just signed your death warrant. This time, they'd attached a photo of Fatima and me entering the building. They'd been watching the whole time. The pain hit me like lightning at 4 a.m. Sharp, twisting cramps that doubled me over on the street corner where Fatima had left me. Too early. Way too early. Not now, I whispered to my belly. Please, baby girl, not now. But stress doesn't negotiate with unborn children. The cramping got worse, radiating down my legs until I could barely stand. I needed help, and fast. The nearest clinic was 15 blocks away, but I knew a place closer. Nurse Adele ran a small practice out of her apartment in Surulere. She'd helped girls from the slums before. No questions asked, no insurance required. I called an Okada rider, gripping his waist as he wove through empty streets. Every pothole sent fresh waves of pain through my body. You all right, sister? He asked at a red light. Just drive. Adele answered her door in a pink nightgown, took one look at me, and pulled me inside without a word. Her living room had been converted into a basic medical station. Examination table, monitor, cabinet full of supplies. How far along? She asked, helping me onto the table. 7 months, the stress, someone's threatening to kill me. Threatening pregnant women? What's wrong with this world? She pressed a stethoscope to my belly, then attached a fetal monitor. Baby's heartbeat is strong, but your blood pressure is dangerous. You need bed rest and peace, not whatever war you're fighting. I can't rest. Not yet. I showed her the network logs on my phone. This woman is destroying innocent people. If I don't stop her tonight... If you don't stop, your daughter might die. Adele's voice was firm but kind. Is your revenge worth her life? Revenge. Is that what this was? It's not revenge. It's justice. Justice won't keep your baby alive if you go into premature labor. She gave me medication to stop the contractions, but her eyes were serious. This is temporary. 24 hours, maybe less. After that, if you keep pushing yourself... She didn't need to finish. I understood. 24 hours to expose Ifeoma's scheme and save Obina's company. 24 hours before my body gave out completely. I need to use your computer, I said. Kioma? Please, I know what I'm doing. Adele reluctantly pointed to her desktop. I plugged in my drive and started analyzing Ifeoma's network traffic in real time. The encrypted tunnel was still active, which meant she was still working. What I found made my stomach drop. She wasn't just stealing data anymore. She was actively manipulating Obina's remaining systems, transferring his company's cryptocurrency reserves to offshore wallets in real time, right now. She's not waiting for him to go bankrupt, I told Adele. She's accelerating it. By morning, he'll have nothing left to save. But there was something else in the network logs, a pattern I recognized. Ifeoma wasn't working alone. The secondary access points showed multiple users, multiple locations. This wasn't just corporate sabotage. It was a coordinated attack. I traced the other IP addresses, one in London, one in Dubai, one in New York. International financial crime, the kind that got people disappeared. My phone rang, unknown number. Don't answer it, Adele warned. I answered anyway. Hello, Shioma. The voice was female, cultured, speaking English with a slight Igbo accent. My name is Ngozi. I've been following your work tonight. If you're calling to threaten me, I'm calling to help you. I'm a cybersecurity specialist, and I've been tracking Ifeoma's operation for months. She's part of something much bigger than you realize. How do I know you're not working with her? Because if I was, you'd already be dead. Fair point. I'm sending you an encrypted file, Ngozi continued. Proof that Ifeoma is working for a syndicate that targets African tech companies. They've done this 12 times before. Obina's just the latest victim. My laptop chimed. The file contained financial records, communication logs, and a list of companies that had mysteriously collapsed after technical failures. Why are you helping me? I asked. Because I'm tired of watching brilliant African minds get crushed by parasites like Ifeoma. And because... She paused. Because they killed my brother when he got too close to the truth. The medication was making me drowsy, but adrenaline kept me focused. What do you need from me? Keep doing what you're doing. Expose her, but be smart about it. They have resources you can't imagine. I'm running out of time. My baby. I know. That's why I'm mobilizing some friends. Street activists who understand that this isn't just about one company. It's about economic colonialism. Foreign syndicates stealing African innovation. She gave me an address in Yaba. Meet us there in 2 hours. And Kioma, bring everything you found. We're going to end this tonight. After she hung up, Adele checked my vitals again. Contractions have stopped, but barely. You're walking a tightrope. I looked at my reflection in her computer screen, exhausted, swollen, ash-stained from the fire. But my eyes were clear. Sometimes walking a tightrope is the only way across. Outside, dawn was breaking over Lagos. Somewhere in the city, Obina was waking up to discover his life's work was being stolen in real time. Somewhere else, Ifeoma was counting money that wasn't hers. And somewhere, a baby girl was fighting to be born into a world where her mother refused to stay invisible. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. The address Ngozi gave me led to a converted warehouse in Yaba's tech district. At 6 a.m. it should have been empty, but I could see lights flickering through painted windows and hear the low hum of multiple computers running. I knocked 3 times, paused, then twice more, the pattern Ngozi had given me. The door opened to reveal a woman in her 30s, natural hair pulled back, wearing a Code Like a Girl t-shirt. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and absolutely furious. You must be Kioma. She stepped aside to let me in. I'm Ngozi, and I'm about to show you something that's going to make you very angry. The warehouse had been transformed into a high-tech command center. Screens lined the walls, cables snaked across the floor, and 5 other people worked at different stations. All young, all focused, all black. Welcome to the resistance, Ngozi said. We call ourselves digital defenders. We've been tracking cybercolonialism for 3 years. She led me to the main screen where cryptocurrency transactions flickered in real time. Millions of Naira flowing out of Obina's accounts, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the destination addresses. Shell companies in the Cayman Islands registered to European investment firms, Ngozi explained. But trace it back far enough, and you find the same pattern everywhere. African tech wealth flowing north, Always north. How many companies? I asked. 13 confirmed. Probably more we haven't found yet. She pulled up a map of Africa with red dots marking attacked companies: Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa. They target successful African tech entrepreneurs, plant insider threats, then systematically destroy their businesses from within. And Ifeoma? A recruitment success story. They found her 5 years ago, drowning in debt after her mother's cancer treatment, offered her a way out, then owned her completely. I felt sick, not just from the pregnancy, but from the scale of it. So she's a victim too? She was. Now she's a willing participant. Look at this. Ngozi showed me bank records. Ifeoma's accounts had grown from nearly empty to over 50 million naira in the past year. Blood money stolen from the dreams of African innovators. But here's the thing, said a voice behind me. I turned to see a young man with thick glasses and a Lagos State University t-shirt. She's gotten sloppy, overconfident, and that's going to be her downfall. Tunde, show her what you found, Ngozi said. Tunde pulled up communication logs between Ifeoma and her handlers. They're not just stealing Obina's money, they're planning to auction his proprietary algorithms to competing firms in Europe, his entire life's work, sold to the highest bidder. When? Today, noon. The auction happens through an encrypted marketplace we've been monitoring. I looked at the clock, 6 hours. We can stop this, Ngozi said, but we need your access codes, the ones you used to get into the building last night. I don't have access anymore. I'm fired, remember? You have something better. You built those systems. You know their weaknesses. She was right. Every system I'd ever coded had a signature, a unique fingerprint that only I would recognize. And if I could get deep enough into Obina's network, I can't just hack in from here, I said. The security protocols I built are too strong. I need physical access to the main server, and that building is crawling with security after last night. What if security wasn't a problem? Asked another voice. I turned to see a woman in her 50s wearing a cleaner's uniform. She looked familiar. Adaora, she said, extending her hand. I work the day shift at Obina's building. Fatima called me, said you might need help. My heart jumped. You're taking a huge risk. Child, I've been taking risks all my life. What's one more? But even as we planned, my body was betraying me. The contractions had stopped, but I felt weak, dizzy. Every time I stood up too fast, the room spun. You can't go back into that building, Ngozi said, noticing my condition. Look at you. You can barely stand. I can handle it. No, you can't, but you can guide us remotely. She gestured to the computers. Walk us through your system architecture. Teach us how to think like you. We'll be your hands while you be our brain. It wasn't ideal, but it was smart. I could direct their hack attempt while staying safe. But as I started explaining the server layout to her team, my phone rang. Unknown number again. Answer it, Ngozi said. Put it on speaker. I did. Chioma. Ifeoma's voice filled the warehouse, cold and professional. I know where you are, I know who you're with, and I know what you're planning. The room went silent. Here's what's going to happen, she continued. You're going to walk out of that building, get on the first bus out of Lagos, and never look back. In exchange, I'll make sure your baby is born healthy, in a good hospital, with proper care. And if I refuse? Then tonight, there will be a gas leak in that warehouse. Very tragic, very final. She hung up. Ngozi was already typing furiously, running security scans on the building. She's not bluffing, she said after a moment. I'm detecting surveillance equipment across the street, professional grade. So we're trapped? No, we're motivated. Ngozi's eyes had gone from angry to absolutely fierce. Tunde, how long to set up a remote access point? 20 minutes if we hurry. Do it, Adaora, can you get us inside the building? Already planned for it. Ngozi turned to me. And you need to make a choice, right now. Walk away, have your baby safely, and let Ifeoma win. Or help us end this, knowing that if we fail, none of us are walking out of here alive. I looked around the room at these strangers who'd become allies, young Africans who decided to fight back against a system designed to steal their future. Then I felt my daughter kick, strong, determined, like she was voting. Let's steal our future back, I said. The plan was insane, but it was our only shot. While Tundi and his team worked on penetrating Obina's systems remotely, I focused on the human element. Ifeoma was smart, but she had one weakness. She still thought of me as the helpless pregnant woman she'd destroyed 3 months ago. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I need to call Obina, I told Ngozi. Directly. Not his office, not his security, his personal phone. You think he'll listen to you, after everything? He's desperate. His company's bleeding money in real time, and he knows something's wrong but can't figure out what. A drowning man will grab any rope. I found his number in my old contacts and dialed. It rang 4 times before he picked up. Who is this? His voice was rough, exhausted. The woman who tried to warn you last night. Your building's still burning, isn't it? Not the physical fire, the digital one. Silence. You're watching your accounts drain, I continued. Every cryptocurrency wallet, every offshore investment, disappearing faster than you can track, and you can't figure out how they're doing it. How did you? Because I built the systems they're using against you, and I can stop them. But first, you need to listen to me. Really listen. I heard him breathing, thinking. Meet me, he said finally, alone. Can't do alone. I'm 7 months pregnant and people are trying to kill me. But I can meet you somewhere public. Tafawa Balewa Square. 1 hour. If this is some kind of trap. Mr. Obina, if I wanted to destroy you, I'd just sit back and watch Ifeoma finish the job. 1 hour. I hung up and turned to Ngozi. How's the remote access coming? Tundi's in, but barely. Their security is adapting to our intrusion attempts. We need more time. Time we don't have. I checked the wall clock. The auction starts in 4 hours. If those algorithms get sold, I know, but there's something else. Ngozi pulled up a new screen. We've been monitoring Ifeoma's communications, and she just sent a message to someone in Abuja. Government connections. My blood went cold. What kind of connections? The kind that can make criminal investigations disappear. The kind that can have a warehouse full of activists declared terrorists. She looked at me seriously. Kioma, if we're going to do this, it has to be perfect. One mistake, and we're all dead or disappeared. But as I prepared to leave for the meeting with Obina, the contractions started again. Worse this time, coming in waves that made me gasp. You're not going anywhere, said Kemi, the team's medic. She was a final-year medical student who'd joined the Digital Defenders after her university's research was stolen by foreign companies. Your body is shutting down. I can handle... Another contraction hit, doubling me over. This time, when it passed, I felt wetness between my legs. That's not good, Kemi said, checking me quickly. Your water's starting to leak. You need a hospital now. I need 1 hour, I gasped. Just 1 hour to meet Obina and... You need a miracle, she said. But... She looked at Ngozi, then back at me. There's an ambulance service that asks no questions. Street medics who help activists when the official hospitals turn us away. Within 20 minutes, I was in the back of an unmarked van with medical equipment, racing through Lagos traffic toward Tafawa Balewa Square. Kemi sat beside me, monitoring my vitals, while I tried to focus on what I'd tell Obina. Contractions are slowing, she reported, but this is temporary. You've got maybe 2 hours before this baby decides she's coming, whether we're ready or not. The square was crowded with morning commuters and street vendors. Perfect cover. I spotted Obina immediately. Tall, well-dressed, looking around nervously. He was alone, as promised, but I could see security hanging back at the edges. Kemi helped me out of the van. Walking was agony, but I forced myself to move normally. Mr. Obina, I called out when I was close enough. He turned, and his face showed surprise at my condition. Whatever he'd been expecting, it wasn't a pregnant woman clearly in medical distress. I sit down, he said, gesturing to a bench. You look... like I'm about to give birth? Yeah, that's because I am, which is why we need to make this quick. I pulled out my phone and showed him the real-time cryptocurrency transfers. His face went pale as he watched millions of naira disappearing from his accounts. This is happening right now, I said. While we're sitting here talking, Ifeoma is draining everything you've built, but that's not the worst part. I showed him the auction listing. His proprietary algorithms, the ones that had taken him 15 years to develop, were being offered to the highest bidder. She's not just stealing your money, I said. She's selling your life's work to your competitors. By tonight, Every fintech company in Europe will have access to your innovations. Obina stared at the screen, his hands shaking with rage. How do we stop her? We need your administrative access, the master keys to your entire system. I can't give you that. I don't even know you. You know I built half those systems. You know I was fired for discovering irregularities in Ifeoma's department. You know that everything that's happened since then has proven I was right. He was silent for a long moment, thinking. What's your plan? He asked finally. We reverse the flow, use her own access points against her, but it has to happen in the next hour before the auction goes live. Another contraction hit, stronger than before. I bit down on my lip to keep from crying out, but Obina saw my distress. You're having the baby now, aren't you? Not yet, but soon. I looked him in the eyes. The question is, do you trust me enough to save your company? He pulled out his phone and started typing. I'm sending you the master access codes, he said, but I want something in return. What? When this is over, when my company is safe, I want you to come back as CTO. Full equity, full authority over all technical operations. Even if I'm a convicted criminal? You were never convicted of anything. You were framed, and I should have seen that from the beginning. His phone chimed. The codes are sent. Now save my life's work. As I stood to leave, he grabbed my arm gently. And Kioma, when that baby comes, she's going to have the best medical care money can buy. That's a promise. I smiled despite the pain. Let's make sure you still have money to keep that promise. The race against time had become a race against my own body, and we were running out of both. The contractions hit me like clockwork as we raced back to the warehouse. Every 3 minutes, pain that made my vision blur and my hands shake. But I forced myself to focus on the laptop screen as Tunda drove through Lagos traffic like a man possessed. How much time? I gasped between waves of pain. Auction goes live in 90 minutes, Ngozi said through my earpiece. But there's a problem. Ifeoma's changed the system architecture since you left. She knows we're coming. I pulled up the network diagrams on my screen. She was right. New firewalls, different encryption protocols, access points that hadn't existed when I built the original system. She's turning your own work against us? Tunde said, taking a sharp corner that made me grip the door handle. But as I studied the new configurations, I started to smile. No, she's not. She's making the same mistake every overconfident hacker makes. She's building on top of existing code instead of rebuilding from scratch. What does that mean? It means she's using my foundation blocks, and I know exactly where the structural weaknesses are. Another contraction hit, this one lasting nearly a minute. When it passed, Kemi was checking my pulse with growing concern. Your blood pressure is spiking, she said. We need to get you to a hospital. Not until this is finished. I opened a command terminal and started typing. Ngozi, I'm sending you a backdoor exploit. It's buried so deep in the original code that Ifeoma probably doesn't even know it exists. Got it. Tunde, can you execute this? Already on it. We pulled up to the warehouse just as my water broke completely. The pain was instant and overwhelming, but I forced myself to focus as the team carried me inside. Talk me through it, I told Tunde, as Kemi prepared an improvised birthing area on a couch. What do you see? I'm in the main system, but she's got admin privileges I can't override. You don't need to override them. You need to mirror them. Another contraction made me scream, but I kept talking. Create a shadow admin account using the back door. Make it look like routine system maintenance. Done. What next? Reverse the cryptocurrency transfers. All of them. But don't send the money back to Obina's accounts yet. Where do we send it? I smiled through the pain. To a holding account I'm creating right now. One that Ifeoma can see but can't access. You're going to bait her. I'm going to make her desperate. As Tunde executed the money transfers, I watched Ifeoma's system responses in real time. Confusion first, then panic, as she realized millions of Naira were slipping through her fingers. She's trying to contact her handlers, Ngozi reported from another terminal, but I'm jamming her communications. Good. Now for phase 2. I pulled up the auction platform where Obina's algorithms were being sold. Tunde, I need you to crash their marketplace. Make it look like a coordinated cyber attack. On it. But as he worked, alarms started blaring from multiple systems. Red warnings flashed across every screen in the warehouse. She's fighting back, Ngozi said, launching a counterattack against our systems. Let her come, I said, then gasped as another contraction hit. This one was different, stronger, more urgent. My body was telling me the baby was coming whether I was ready or not. Chioma, I can see the baby's head, Kemi said urgently. You need to push. Not yet, I panted. 30 more seconds. On my screen, I watched as Ifeoma's desperation turned to rage. She was throwing everything at us. Viruses, denial of service attacks, attempts to trace our location and call in government connections. But she'd made one critical error. In her panic, she'd logged into the system using her real administrator credentials instead of the anonymous accounts she usually used. Got her, I breathed. Ngozi, I'm tracing her location and recording everything. Her real identity, her government contacts, her foreign handlers. The evidence? Everything. Bank records, communication logs, the complete syndicate structure. Another contraction hit, and this time I couldn't hold back a scream. Download it all before she realizes what's happening. Chioma, you need to push now, Kemi said firmly. I looked at the screens around me. The money transfers were complete. The auction had been shut down. Obina's algorithms were safe. And somewhere in Victoria Island, Ifeoma was watching her entire criminal empire collapse in real time. Do we have everything? I asked. Every bit of evidence we need to destroy them, Ngozi confirmed. I smiled, then let my body take over. 3 pushes later, my daughter entered the world screaming with the fury of someone who'd been kept waiting too long. She's beautiful, Kemi said, placing the baby on my chest. And she's got perfect timing. Through my exhaustion, I heard my phone ringing. Obina. It's done, I told him. Your company is safe. Your money is returned. And Ifeoma, well, she's about to have some very difficult conversations with some very angry people. How can I ever thank you? I looked down at my daughter, already trying to focus her eyes on my face. Just remember this moment. Remember that a homeless pregnant woman saved your empire. And maybe next time, listen before you judge. The CTO position is still yours whenever you're ready. Give me 6 weeks to recover, then we'll talk. But even as I celebrated, Ngozi was pulling up news feeds on her computer. Chioma, you need to see this. On the screen was a breaking news alert. Tech executive found dead in Victoria Island home, apparent suicide. Ifeoma was gone, but as I held my newborn daughter, I realized something important. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning. And this little girl was going to grow up in a world where her mother had refused to stay invisible. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in the penthouse office that used to belong to Ifeoma, my daughter Zara, sleeping peacefully in a carrier beside my desk. The view from the 40th floor showed all of Lagos stretching out below us, a city full of dreamers and fighters who refused to be invisible. Obina had kept his promise, not just the CTO position and the equity, but something more valuable. He'd listened. The company was being rebuilt from the ground up with new security protocols, transparent financial systems, and most importantly, a commitment to keeping African innovation in African hands. The international syndicate is finished, Ngozi reported from the conference table where the digital defenders had gathered for our weekly briefing. European authorities have arrested 12 people based on the evidence we provided. Their whole operation is collapsing. And the other targeted companies? I asked. We've contacted all 13 victims. Most are interested in joining a consortium for mutual protection, a kind of African tech defense network. Tundi pulled up financial reports on the main screen. Obina's company has not only recovered, but is showing record growth. Turns out, when you're not being systematically robbed, you can actually build something amazing. I smiled, adjusting Zara in her carrier. She was growing fast, alert eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. Sometimes I caught her staring at the computer screens like she was trying to decode the patterns. There's something else, Adara said. She had been promoted to head of building security and was still getting used to calling the shots instead of taking orders. The government investigation into Ifeoma's contacts has led to some interesting discoveries. She pulled up a list of names: politicians, bureaucrats, foreign business interests. 3 cabinet ministers have resigned. The whole system was more corrupt than we realized. But that's not the best part, Ngozi added with a grin. Remember that warehouse where we almost got killed? Obina bought it. He's turning it into a free tech education center for underprivileged kids. And guess who he wants to run it, Tunda said, looking at me. I laughed. I've got my hands full running a multi-billion naira company and raising a baby, but I know some people who might be interested. I looked around the room at the digital defenders, these brilliant minds who'd risked everything to fight back. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number, but this time I wasn't afraid. Ms. Chioma, this is Dr. Amara from the University of Lagos Computer Science Department. We've been following your work with great interest. Would you consider lecturing to our students about ethical hacking and corporate security? Look at that, Ngozi said, reading over my shoulder. From homeless to lecturer in 3 weeks. Not bad. But it wasn't really 3 weeks, was it? It was a lifetime of preparation, a lifetime of building skills and knowledge that nobody could take away. A lifetime of refusing to accept that someone like me didn't deserve to be heard. Zara stirred in her carrier, making the soft cooing sounds that always made my heart skip. I picked her up, holding her against my shoulder as she looked out at the Lagos skyline. You know what the most important thing we learned was? I said to the group. It wasn't about the technology or the money or even the justice. It was about refusing to be invisible, refusing to accept that people like us don't matter. People like us have always mattered, Adaora said. We just needed to remind everyone else of that fact. My laptop chimed with another message, this one from a tech entrepreneur in Ghana whose company was showing suspicious irregularities. Then another from Kenya. Then South Africa. Looks like we're going international, Ngozi said. The African Digital Defense Network, I said, testing the name. I like the sound of that. That evening, as I fed Zara in my new apartment in Victoria Island, the same neighborhood where Ifeoma had lived and died, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. From sleeping on concrete to commanding a corner office, from being invisible to being indispensable. But the most important change wasn't in my circumstances. It was in my understanding of power. Real power wasn't about money or position or even technology. Real power was about refusing to let anyone else define your worth. Real power was about teaching your daughter that no one could make her invisible unless she let them. I looked down at Zara, who was staring up at me with those alert, intelligent eyes. Your mama's got a story to tell you when you're older, I whispered, about the time she saved a company, exposed a criminal syndicate, and gave birth to you all in the same day. But you know what the best part is? She made a soft gurgling sound, like she was listening. The best part is that this is just the beginning. Outside my window, Lagos pulsed with its eternal energy. Millions of people dreaming, struggling, building something better. And somewhere in that vast city, there were other women like me. Brilliant, invisible, waiting for their chance to change everything. I opened my laptop and started typing a new message, one that would go out to tech communities across Africa. My name is Chioma, and I have a story to tell you, about the power of refusing to stay invisible, about fighting back when they try to steal your dreams, about the importance of knowing that your voice matters, your work matters, and your future is yours to write. I looked at Zara, who had fallen asleep in my arms. And it's all just beginning, baby girl. It's all just beginning. If you've made it this far in my story, maybe you understand something important. Maybe you know what it feels like to be overlooked, underestimated, forgotten. If that's you, remember this. Your time is coming, your voice matters, and the world needs what you have to give. Don't let them make you invisible. The future is watching.